Okay, so this is my second time. Again, we seem to be having technical problems, but I think we've actually got it this time. Please. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. Well done. Let me turn the sound off. Again, we seem to be having technical problems, but I think we've actually got it this time. Please. And there we go. Okay, so I'm back now. I'm ever so happy. So, my name's Joseph Jordan. Today we're going to be continuing a lesson that we started last week, entitled Tenses Made Easy. Hopefully, by the end of today's lesson, you'll have a better understanding as to how tenses work. Now, I wasn't really happy with my presentation last week, so we're going to revise some of the more important points. For any students who attended last week's lesson, you can treat this as revision. And for any new students, this will be particularly helpful, especially when it comes to the practice later today. So before we continue, a little word on lessons. You know, these YouTube live lessons, it's only really a lesson if you participate. If you don't participate, then it's just pretty much a video, and you can watch a video anytime. If any student, the more you post, if you post for the majority of questions, what I will do at the end of quarantine, when life gets back to normal, if it ever gets back to normal, I will share PDF versions of the classes that I've done in the lesson and any materials that I've used, as well as any extra notes that I may be able to add in there, and I'll send them to you. If you feel as though you have participated a great deal, you can contact me here on joeyonline@justenglish.com. This email address is not active at the moment, but it will be active within about 2 days. So if you've joined a lot and you would like to have a PDF version of the material that we've covered, then please send me an email. But beware, I will be checking the live feed. I watch my performances afterwards, of course. I will be checking the live feed to see if you've actually participated as much as you said you would. Of course, it's a lesson, so please make sure that you have a pen and paper ready. And if you attend my classes on a regular basis, then please, before my next lesson, always review the lesson before on YouTube. So, last week, let's start from the beginning. We started to look at tenses, and as I said a moment ago, we'll be revising some of the major points that we covered last week, so that we can actually prepare better for the practice that we have today. Okay, so in today's lesson, as I said a number of times, we'll be reviewing some points that we covered from last week. I'm going to take it slowly, because it's a slightly different way at looking at tenses. And, when we look at things a different way, even though we've done them in one particular way continuously, it can sometimes get a little bit confusing. So we'll go through those points again at a much slower pace, and hopefully with some better graphics too. We'll look at how we can choose a tense easily and how we can use it correctly. As I said last week, we don't choose tenses. Tenses are simply an observation of an action. We see the action, and the tense that we choose is decided by that action, or is decided by that state. We don't use present perfect because it looks good. We use present perfect because it's necessary. It explains the action and the nature of that action in terms of time. And the same way, we don't choose present perfect continuous or future perfect continuous, or even past perfect simple or past perfect continuous for exactly the same reason. We use them because it's necessary, because the action is telling us what tense we need to use. If I just go there. And of course, hopefully, if I don't talk too much, I do have a habit of talking a lot. We're going to practice some of these basic concepts. Now, before we continue, hello, Mr. Oktay. There we go, Satari. How are you this wonderful day? Hope you're doing well. That's the first participant there. So before we continue, before we continue, I was going to say hi. If anybody else is online, make sure you say hi and participate too. We do know who's watching. I will know who's watching, so the more you participate, the better it is for you. You won't have to worry about Corona, you'll have to worry about me. So let's get on with the lesson. So last week I asked the question, how many tenses are there? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that, especially for the new students. And the old students, this answer should actually be a little bit more automatic. But I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that. There, Mr. Hakan. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. And we have Nursena. Welcome to the class, Nursena. There we go. A little bit of fear goes a long way. So last week we saw that there were a number of tenses, and we'll read these off slowly. We have, of course, past simple. And the example I've given here is, I went to work yesterday. Then we had past continuous, and the example I gave last week was, she was working at 3 yesterday. Then I suppose, hello, CIA, CIA? Not the CIA, not of, really? CIA? There you go, Mr. Hakan, you're very welcome, anytime. So we also had past perfect simple, she had already left by the time I arrived. Then we had past perfect continuous. I had been living in China before moving to Turkey. We'll talk about these tenses a little bit later. Let's just get them up on the board at the moment. I think that actually does the past. We now move on to the present. We have present simple. I go to work every day. We also have present continuous. She is working at the moment. We have present perfect simple. She's already left. We have present perfect continuous. I have been living in Turkey for 18 years. That's actually true. I've been here for 18 years. My Turkish is terrible though. Then we move on to future tenses. The first we have future simple. I will go to work tomorrow. Then we have future continuous. She will be working at 3 tomorrow. I don't know. I'm already exhausted. Are you? Then we have, there we go, CIA. Thank you, Mr. Hakan. Then we have future perfect simple. Hopefully you'll be a good student too. I hope. Lots of participation from you. You're looking good. When I mentioned participation earlier, I mean answers to my questions. Then we have future perfect simple. She will have already left by the time I get back. I hate those perfect tenses. I'm going to show you an easy way with perfect tenses. Maybe not today, but almost certainly next week in next week's lesson. It never ends. And then we have future perfect continuous. I will have been living in Turkey for 19 years this time next year. Wow. Ne biçim bir cümle. So as we saw, when we think of tenses, if we just quickly go back there and count, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a lot of information. So as I said earlier, we're going to see how we can actually simplify this information and look at ways in which we can choose tenses in a very easy way. But before we do, we need to think about what verbs do. Just think about that for a moment. What do verbs do? I'll give you a second whilst I have a swig of water. My mouth's all dry. I'll have a look at the lesson. Thank you, Mr. Ozgush. Welcome to the class. You have a nice lesson too. As I stated earlier, students who participate in most of the lesson, and when I say participate, I mean answer questions. I will send, once all of this mess is over, I will send you a PDF version of what we've done in the class, as well as any extra notes that I may have added during that class. But it really depends on your participation. I think the email address is joeyonline@justinglishtr.com. I repeat that, joeyonline, all lowercase, at justinglishtr.com, and that email will be activated within the next 2 days. It's not quite active yet. So what do verbs do? Any ideas? Any answers? Verbs make cause. Hey, Layla, how are you? How are you? We've got Nusin. I think we've already said hi. Well, verbs do one of two things. It's not just one thing, but you are very, very close, Layla. First, they explain actions. They explain things that we can physically see, such as, I don't know, you can physically see me drink water. You can physically see me hold this pen. They're actions that we can see. They're what we call the observable verbs. So we had an example of rides, such as ride your bicycle, fight, when two people are fighting each other. We had read, of course, read a book. We had run. We all know what that means, hopefully. We don't do much running or dancing at the moment, though, do we? And then we have win, for example, to win money or to win a game. And then we have play. Again, maybe play the lottery or play a game. But verbs also do a second thing. We can divide them into two distinct families. We also have state verbs. Up here on the other side, actually, we have state verbs. And states are things that we can't see. They're what we call the unobservable. Oh, dilim dönmüyor. Yep, Mehmet Bozkurt, sizinki de. Allah kabul etsin. I don't know, it's Ramazan. Have a nice one. Deleted all of your messages already. That was very quick. So we also have verbs like love. You can't really see love, as we discussed last week. We had like, we had ate, there we go. We had want, we had need, we had prefer, and we had own. Before we choose a tense, we need to think about what type of verb we're dealing with. We need to think about if that verb is an action. Does it describe something that we can see? Or does it describe a state, something that we feel? Well, something that you feel, or an emotion, like love. Okay, we can show people that we love them, but love as a verb is something that we feel inside. And it's the same way with hate. We can show someone that we hate them. But that feeling, it's inside. It's not really an action. We use other actions to show love or to show hate. For example, if you love someone, you might give them a present. If you hate someone, you may, I don't know, clean the toilet with their toothbrush. That's my favorite. So let's move on. So we now know what verbs do. So how does this relate with tenses? What do tenses do? I'm going to let you think about that for a second whilst I go back over to chat and see who's there. Okay, so I'm back again. Well, tenses, like verbs, and I'm going to bring this long chart that we saw earlier, this headache of the thing. Tenses do one of two things, just like verbs. Verbs do two things. Verbs describe states, and verbs describe actions, things that we can see and things that we can't, more so like feelings and emotions. But tenses also do two things. And first, tenses actually show us when an action starts. So I'm going to quickly put on my little viewer here. If you just bear with me. Got a little laser pointer. Wow, look at this. So when we look at time, this section here, we see that we basically have three areas of time. We have the past, we have the present, and we have the future. If we think like this, if this is where we begin, and I often find, as I stated last week, I often find that we make the first mistake because tenses, when we learn tenses at school, we learn them as zaman lush. And I don't think that's really a correct translation because time, as you can see, is only one small part of a longer part. We have past simple, we actually just have past here and we have simple over here. And if we think in terms of time, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, we still have 12 possible tenses to choose from. Thinking about time doesn't help you choose the tense. Actually, time is secondary. It's the second thing that we need to worry about. Time really tells us what type of verb we need to use. Here we have past simple, so I need to know the past form. Actually, I tell you what, I'm not at the moment. I know with past continuous, in the past I need to use was. With past perfect simple, I know I need to use had. We'll come back to the past participle later. With past perfect continuous, I know I need to use had been. This shows me that this action is past. Here with the present, we use the base form. I'll show you a little list of this a little bit later. We use the base form, and this basically tells me that this action here, go, is in the present. The shape and form of the verb. If we look here, went and go is actually an irregular verb. So our base form is go. And base forms we use in simple tenses. Present simple, and we also use a form of the base form for future simple. Here, present continuous, I know this is a present tense because of the verb to be. Here it is. With present perfect simple, I know that this is a present perfect time frame because we have this verb has, and as we can see, the present of have is has for he, she, and it. And we could go on, actually, present perfect continuous. If we go down to the future, future simple, there we go again. I know this is future because of the verb. So in terms of time, this section here is very, very limited. It doesn't really help us choose the correct tense. It only tells us what verb form we need to use in order to show that that tense is past. This perfect section, we're going to come back to next week. Perfect does actually have a very special meaning. I'm now going to prepare a separate lesson for the perfect tenses and hopefully show you ways in which you won't have to worry about perfect tenses. They're not that important. Past perfect simple, very rarely would we use this, in spoken English. We have different ways, different grammatical structures we can use which have the same meaning. We have easier ways to show this. And I don't know, maybe a weekly basis, I don't know, not even weekly, maybe monthly. Monthly outside of teaching. Of course, I'm a teacher, so I use past perfect a lot. But in my personal life, past perfect simple really isn't that important. It's not something that we use commonly. So if you're not comfortable using this, next week I'll show you ways in which you can get around using this with an easier structure. If we go down to perfect continuous, again, I had been living. Again, this tense, it's not a very, very important tense. Maybe once a year, outside of teaching, of course, maybe once a year, I'll use this in speaking. The present perfect tenses are a little bit more common. They're more common in British English, and they're less common in American English. Of course, there are times when we may have to use them. But again, we'll be looking especially for present perfect simple. I'll show you a way in which you won't have to use this, an American English way. Not that there's any such thing as American English, not really. So down here we also have future perfect simple again, really not a common tense. And future perfect continuous, I don't know. Future perfect continuous, I think maybe I've used it once, maybe twice in my life in ordinary speaking. It's not a tense that I would use often. So, perfect tenses, they're really secondary. The second thing a tense does is actually explain how this is the important part. This is where we need to begin. This is where we need to begin. We need to begin here. And if we just look at this section here, it's telling us how that action is happening. This is where we need to begin. Do you remember I said tenses, a verb is something that we can observe. We need to talk about how that action happens or is happening in time. And here, we really only have two ways. If you look down that list, what are the two ways? Can anybody tell me? I'm going to go back to the chat very quickly. think about the question, what are the two ways we can talk about tenses in terms of how that verb happens? Busha salam, hello, Layla, about time, really about time, what? And then we have Mehmet Bozkurt, really. I haven't been following your chats. I think I might be a little bit late to a conversation. About time. What does that mean, Layla? I look forward to your response. And Mehmet Bozkurt, really? Really? I don't know what I'm saying really too, but really. Try to write sentences so I can understand what you're talking about. So no one's answered, but we have two basic verbs. We have two ways we can talk about a verb. We can talk about it in a simple way, or we can talk about it in a continuous way. There's only two ways: simple, continuous. Simple, continuous. And those two ways are basically how a verb happens in time. And we as English speakers, and you're English speakers too, we observe that action and we know if we need to use simple or if we need to use continuous. Just there. So, I don't know, think of them as being like a family of tenses. I've got just two stupid photographs off the internet. Look at this family. What a poor family. Look at all of those badges. Wannabe soldiers, I suppose, or Boy Scouts. But families, the simple family, past simple, past perfect simple, present perfect, present simple, present perfect simple, future simple, future perfect simple. Benim kafam karıştırıyor ya. Sizinki nasıl karıştırmıyor? And like families, there's lots of similarities, as we can see in this photograph, where they're all dressed in exactly the same way, but we also have differences too. For example, this boy, he's wearing a blue scarf. This boy here is wearing a red tie, a slightly different color, and these two are wearing the same. And it's just like with tenses or families of tenses. When we look at the simple tenses, past simple perfect, past perfect simple, present perfect simple, present simple, future perfect simple, and future simple. When we look at those tenses, they all have similarities. And I find that when we learn tenses, we're learning about how different these actions are. That present simple is different from the past simple. Whereas in fact, they're not different. We use them for the same reasons. There's more similarities between past simple and present simple than there are differences, as it were, on a day-to-day basis of using the English language. We use them more for the same things. And it's the same with future simple. Future simple and past simple, they're very, very much alike. We use them for exactly the same thing. We use them for the same type of action. We use them for the same type of state. If we need, or if we've decided we need a simple past tense, then the chances are if we took the action and put it into the future, or maybe the other way, wherever the future is, then you're probably going to need a future simple tense. And for the same reason, if you're using present simple, when we take the action and put it in the past, you probably need past simple. And it's the same with continuous tenses too. We've got past continuous, past perfect continuous, present continuous, present perfect continuous, future continuous, and future perfect continuous. Wow, I don't know how I did that. And again, as a family, we have lots of similarities. The children all have the same color hair. The boy and the father, or maybe grandfather, are wearing similar types of clothes. Oh, and we've got a young daughter there as well. And we've got a cat. I don't know. It's in a box. If you look at it, it's there. If you don't, is it still there? Probably is. So we're going to look at these in terms of families and how these families can help us understand what tense we need to choose. And we're going to start with the simple family of tenses. Now, simple has a basic meaning. It means something. It doesn't mean basic. It doesn't mean sort of simple in that sense. Simple basically means a single repeated action. That's the meaning. Single repeated action. And if I just quickly put up a timeline here, and if we look at that single repeated action, and I put it in the past. We're just talking about the verb, really. We're not talking about anything else. It's timeless. We're talking about the action itself. Go, go, go. Of course, go in the past is went, went, went. Maybe I went to school on Monday, keşke. I went to school on Tuesday, and I went to school on Thursday. Maybe we could use months. In January, I went to Germany. In February, I went to China. No, I didn't go to China. No more China. In February, I went to Iran. And in January, February, March, in March, I went to Japan. The thing is, we have this repeated action. It's a single repeated action without any time frame. Single repeated action. Boom. Where is this single repeated action? It's in the past. So I know single repeated action means simple. So in this example, we need past simple. It really is that simple. We don't need any other tense. We don't need to use any other expression or any other modal verb. If it's a repeated action, if it's in the past, it's past simple. It's that easy. And we have an example down here. I went to the cinema every Saturday night when I was a kid. I've put a little note there for you as well. Generally, when we use past simple for repeated actions in the past, such as habits, things that we used to do, then we need to use this time phrase. We need to say every Saturday, or we need to say when I was a kid. Because past simple doesn't have one use, past simple has two uses, as you'll see very shortly. So, what about the present? Well, the present's a little bit more complicated, because if you look here, the present is only really a small point in time. The present only exists for now. Once it happens, it's in the past. And anything after this is going to be the future. But present or present tenses, they do include the past and they do include the future. I did this last year, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, etc., etc. We have the same repeated action that is repeating itself. My head is going like this as well. That repeats itself from the past right through to the present and to the future too. I'm going to have a quick look. Yeah, lol. Goes to the future too. So I know that this repeated action, we have a repeated action here, and it's present. So I know we need, what do we need? We need present simple. And that's one of the first uses of present simple we learn when we're learning English at an elementary level. And here we have the example, I go. Of course, I'm using the base form of this verb because that's how we make the present simple. Here we have the same verb, the same action, buck. It's the same action, simple, simple. But here, because it's past, I need to say went. Of course, go is an irregular verb. So what about the future? Well, if we could just have a quick look at this. We go bump, bump, bump, past, bump, bump, bump, future. We have the same repeated action. 1, 2, 3, 4. It continues from a future point in time. I've put a line here to show that it's not connected to the present. So again, we have a repeated action. What does repeated action mean? Repeated action means simple. And it's happening in the future. So we know we need future. I know we need future simple. And there we go. I'll give you an example. Future simple. I will go to the cinema every Saturday night when I go back to the UK. Now, a quick discussion about future tenses. We have lots of options. We can use present continuous, we can use present simple, we can use am, is, are, going to. We have a plethora, a variety. Plethora means variety. we have a plethora of tenses to choose from. If when you're speaking to a native speaker, don't worry or stress about which one to use. If you use future simple, you're good to go. We're going to understand. It's not going to be a big problem. If there's any miscommunication, if there's something that we don't understand, then we can always ask and go, what do you mean by that? And then maybe you can start stressing about tenses. But, future simple, for me in Turkish, cek, everything's cek. As soon as I found out that cek was for gelecek, gidecek, yapacak, mapacak, as soon as I found out that cek was used for future, that's pretty much all I use. I don't use gitmiş olacak, gidiyor olacağım, all of that nonsense. It's not necessary. Future simple, when I use the future gelecek zaman in Turkish, cek, everybody understands me, and it's the same in English. So simple also has a second meaning. Prior to this example, we saw that it meant a repeated single action. Here, simple still means single, but here we just have a single action. And here's our single action in the past. Single action in the past nedir? Simple past ya da past simple. Bump. I went to the cinema last night and watched a really good film. Hello, Tuba. Hello, Mutlu Yash. How are you? Thank you for joining today's lesson. If you've just joined, by the way, as I said earlier, the more if you contribute a lot, and I'm happy with your contributions, then in a couple of days you can send me an email address, and after the pandemic or this epidemic or I don't know, this quarantine comes to an end, I will send you an information pack of everything that we've covered in class. So here went, if we compare it with the sentence before, went last night just one time, and watched just one time. We're not interested in the duration of these actions. We're just interested in the fact that these actions happened, maybe one after the other, or maybe one on one day, another on another day, and another on another day. If we look at the present, however, with the present, well, really not possible. We do not use the present simple for single actions. It's possible, but generally we use it for future single actions, not present single actions. We'll discuss some of that a little bit later. So let's move on to the future. And there we go. We have a single action. Where is that single action? It's in the future. What does single action mean? Single action means simple. So we need to use future simple. Again, if you're confused about which future tense to use, you can always use future simple. People will understand you. So, and finally, we use simple tenses with states or states in general. And what I mean by that, if we think about a state verb like love, it's a verb within itself, but sometimes sentences don't have verbs, they have adjectives, they have nouns, they have adverbial clauses. And this type of sentence, this structure here we call a complement. And of course, in that structure, we need to use the verb to be. Am, is, are, was, were. And in Turkish, we call that yardımcı fiil. And the reason we call it that in English, it's auxiliary verb. And ox has the same meaning. It means to help. It helps that adjective connect to the subject, or it helps that noun connect to the subject. We can't say, I, Joseph. Every sentence needs to have a verb. We don't have an action verb to describe that. So we just simply say, I am Joseph. If we put that into the past, we have I was Joseph. Biraz saçma oldu ama olsun. If we put that into the future, we have I will be Joseph. So if we look at emotions and if we look at states and all of this, they're things that last for long periods of time. You don't just hate and then love, or you don't love and then just hate. It lasts for a long period of time. So here we have this emotion, we have this state, it's in the past. Emotions or states mean simple, and here we're simply going to use past simple. I hated eating vegetables when I was young. true story. If we move that into the present again, look, the present, it expands across time. We have the past and we have the future too. Again, it's an emotion, it's a state, it's simple, so we need to use present simple. And there we have it, I hate eating vegetables. And we can put this in the future too. Again, we have this emotion or state. It's in the future, so we know we need to use future simple. Well, what about progressive tenses or continuous tenses? Progressive is American English, continuous is British English. They're both exactly the same thing. So let's have a look at continuous tenses and how they relate with each other. Well, with continuous tenses, we're interested in this idea of duration. Süreç in Turkish. But importantly, we're interested in this duration at a specific time, in a specific point in time. That's a very important part. And we just go here, there we go. We have an action with duration, and here we have that point in time. And as you can see, continuous tenses, they're really limited. They're limited. The action is limited by the time around it. They don't exist for a very long time. In fact, they're temporary. We'll come back to that later. So here I want to talk about duration in the past. Of course, I need to use past continuous. And the example we have here is, I was watching TV at 8 last night. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Hello everybody, is everybody still there or is everybody sleeping? It won't take long. Revision, nearly finished. We'll be starting a new subject very shortly. We'll give you the chance to answer some questions actually. If we use it in the present, again, when we look at simple tenses, simple tense went straight into the past, went straight into the future. Here we've got that point in time, which is now the present. And we have this action with duration. Started somewhere before, and it's continuing to somewhere afterwards. Or if we do that the other way, there we go. Do it like that. So this is present. We know it's continuous, so we need to use present continuous. It's that easy. If we take that same idea and we put it in the future, it's exactly, look, exactly the same idea. Boom, boom, boom, boom, boom. It's the same action. We're observing the same type of action. Here, however, it's in the future. So what do we need to use? We don't need to stress about it. We need to use future continuous. Boom. And there's an example. Future continuous. I will be watching TV at 8 tonight. So we'll be looking at some comparisons of these. Next lesson, I think we're going to have lots and lots of practice and some other notes. But before we end this lesson, let's talk about some of the comparisons that we have between these tense families. So we know simple tenses are used for single actions or single repeated actions. We know that continuous tenses are more interested in the duration of the action happening in time. Jump, jumping, sleep, sleeping, slept, was sleeping, went, was going, went, single action, the time's not important. I was going, we now have duration. So, as I said, we use simple tenses to talk about actions and states. Continuous tenses, on the other hand, we only use to talk about actions. There are some exceptions, however. There's always going to be an exception to the rule in English. So let's look at some of those exceptions to the rule. Quick note. Thank you so much. Don't know what I said or what anybody said. So here we have, I'm still waiting for you to participate really. So we have state verbs there. And state verbs can be a little bit complicated because a state verb is sometimes a state verb in one meaning and sometimes it's not a state verb in a different meaning. Like in Turkish, we have words like buyurun. What does buyurun really mean? Well, it has a number of meanings in English. Hello, how can I help you? Buyurun. Maybe if you want someone to sit down, buyurun. Please take a seat. Maybe if you're eating something, can you go, Eric, there we go. Magic. And we go, buyurun. We say, please help yourself. And it's the same in English as well. Verbs have more than one meaning. Words have more than one meaning depending on their context. So we're going to put simple on that side, and we're going to put continuous on this side. I think I've got that correct. And we'll start off by looking with the verb to be. So on the left-hand side, we have she is so annoying, but we also have the continuous form. She is being so annoying. We have this verb to be. Of course, we have the verb to be here, but we've taken this verb to be to make this continuous. We've put it here. This verb here is actually this verb. The continuous form of is being. This is not the same is. This is part of the continuous tense. It's part of structure. This is telling me when this action happens. This is telling me when this action happens. Here I know this is present continuous, and here I know it is. Can anybody, first question, listen very carefully. I expect an answer. What's the difference between she is so annoying and she is being so annoying? What's the difference? Well, thank you, Mr. Ekrem. Yalçınkaya. I know someone called Yalçınkaya. Yeah, I think I might know one of your relatives, but I think, is that a very common name? Don't know. İbrahim Yalçınkaya. İbo diye bir arkadaşım vardı. So, no answers? Nothing yet? Okay, well, with present simple, we know present simple we know it's general. We know this from earlier. We know that it includes the present, but it also includes the past and includes the future. So if she is annoying now, she was annoying yesterday, and she will probably be annoying tomorrow. This is, I don't know, her character. It's part of who she is. It can't be changed. That's the way she is. Çok gıcık bir insan. Der ya. She's just annoying. If we look at the continuous form, thank you, Mr. Enes. Thank you. Sympathetic. We'll come back to sympathetic a little bit later. It looks like an English word. Sempatic in Turkish means nice. Sympathetic in English means understanding someone's feelings or emotions, which isn't what I'm really capable of. But if we look at the continuous form, we know that because, continuous tenses, as I said earlier, they're limited. So we know that this is how she's behaving at the moment. That's to say, generally, she's a very nice person. She was nice yesterday. She was nice last year. She was nice the week before. She will probably be nice tomorrow, and she'll probably be nice next year. That's her state. She is nice. But just at this moment now, she's being annoying. So we have this idea of a restricted amount of time, continuous, versus simple, which is this wide period of time. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Continuous now. Yeah, very good, Dilan. There we go. We've got our first, well done, Dilan. We have our first contribution to a question. I'm expecting lots from you, Dilan. Keep on going. Keep on answering the questions that I ask. So we also have for state, meaning possession, sahiblik. And we have two examples. I have one sister and one brother. And on the other side, I have the continuous form. I'm having one brother and one sister. Well, we know the simple tense here, the present simple tense is correct because simple tenses are used for actions and they are used for states. It really depends what we want to say about that action. Is that action a single action, or is it a single repeated action? If we have duration, we need to use continuous tenses over here. But the problem here with possession states, with the problem with possession, it's actually a state verb, as is have. So in the present continuous form, it's actually incorrect. It's not possible. Because as I said, as you know, states we use to describe emotions and feelings. States don't have duration. Zaten they already have duration. But here we have meaning similar to do, to make, to do. And here it's used as an action. So I'll give you an example. On the left-hand side, we have, she has a party every weekend. And then we have continuous over there. We have continuous, she is having a party this weekend. Well, the simple verb is always going to be correct because we use it for actions and we use it for states. But what about the continuous form? She is having a party this weekend. Do you think that's correct? Okay, Pelin, welcome to the class. Single means tek. Like İbrahim Tatlıses, tek. Just actually, tek. Single action, tek. Single repeated action. And that means simple. Simple means single. Nice question. Okay. So what about she is having a party this weekend? Do you think that's okay? Well, the answer is it's correct because continuous tenses we use also to talk about actions. And here, she is having a party this weekend. We have a very special use of present continuous here. We're using it to show the future. We'll talk about that later though. Here we have the verb think. And here we're using it to mean opinion or idea. This is my idea. This is my opinion. And here we can see it's also states. So this meaning, when think means opinion, it's actually states. We'll put two sentences up there. I think you are right. I'm thinking you are right. Well, we know. We already know simple tenses can be used for actions and for states, so it's always going to be correct. But what about the continuous form? What do you think? Pelin, what do you think? Is this going to be possible or not possible? Correct or incorrect? I'm waiting for your answer and having a drink of tea and checking my telephone because I need to learn how to... Okay. Last question. And then we'll... Control 8, break time, intro, control 9, start, end, intro. Okay. Well, the answer is no, it's not possible. No thinking, not continuous. Very good, Nursena. Think, smell, etc. cannot be used with ing. Be careful, Mr. Hey, Adem. Is that Adem Kuzucu? Did you come to my lesson on Friday? Or is this a different Adem? Anyway, regardless, welcome to the class. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all. To see you nice. Normally not correct. Yeah, here it's normally not correct, but we need to be careful. Mr. Adem, smell can be used in a continuous form. It depends on the meaning, and we'll check that after the break. So I'm going to try and find out how to turn the computer off and put you onto a break time, and we'll be back here maybe, I don't know, 3 o'clock, 5 past 3? Okay, so what do I need to do? There we go. Control. and hopefully we are back. Let's see if this works. I get comfortable. Are we back? Let's please be back. Loads of people dancing. I'm still watching the adverts. Okay, I press Control 9 and start intro. Sorry, I was back. I'll just have to trust it in the future. Where are we? Yeah, we just had a break time. It depends on Adem. It's the same Adem. Do you remember me? Aşk olsun. Of course I remember you, man. Last Friday. Hopefully you'll be coming this Friday too. And I don't know. This is your second time to one of my lessons. So if you go back to the beginning of the video, Adem, you'll find my email address, joeonline, I think it was, at justenglishTR.com. Once this is over, I'll definitely be sending you a PDF pack of all of the information that we've covered so far. One-time offer. Send me an email. Don't send it today or tomorrow. Send me an email sometime on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll make sure that you get the PDFs of the lessons that we've covered so far. And for any of you, others who'd like to have a PDF form of the class notes and any extra notes that I've added during the lesson, it really depends on your contribution. If you contribute to most of the lesson, or you feel that you've contributed to most of the lesson, send me an email too, and I'll check your contributions. I always check. I'm not going to just believe you. Hey, my name's, I don't know, Mustafa. I contributed a lot. Can I have a PDF? That's not going to happen. I will check. And if I'm satisfied with your contribution, I'll send you a PDF form of the lesson notes too. So before the break time, we looked at tenses. We saw that tenses describe actions in one of two ways. They can be simple, which means single, tek, it means single, or it means single repeated. And we saw that continuous tenses were more interested with the duration of the action. And that's where we need to begin. Before we decide anything else about the time frame, about the perfect frame, we need to decide what is the action we're describing. Do we want to show it as a single action, or do we need to show it as a continuous action? It sounds simple, but it does need practice. And even if you're an intermediate student, an upper intermediate student, or an advanced student, trust me, the simple tenses are where most of these students make mistakes. I've been teaching TOEFL for a very, very long time now, and even with the really, really good fluent students, when they're writing, they make simple mistakes with simple tenses. Simple does not mean basic. Actually, simple tenses are incredibly complex, at their core, under the hood. They're incredibly complex, and they do require a lot of practice, mainly because we have a change in verb form. I am, you are, we are, they are, but we say he is, it is, she is. And it's the same in the past as well. We have she was, he was, it was, but we have I were, you were, they were, we were. So simple tenses do require a lot of practice, and state verbs as well. A lot of mistakes. I can't tell you how many times I've seen mistakes with the use of state verbs, even in a very good TOEFL student's essay, or even while speaking. So let's go on to another one. We have think, and here this time we're using think as an action, as the process of thought, when you imagine something in your mind's eye, or if you're thinking about work, or maybe you want to think about your life and how miserable your life is at the moment, or where I'm concerned, how happy I am. I'm absolutely loving quarantine. It's amazing. So we're going to put two sentences up on the board. What do you think of before sleeping, and what are you thinking of We could say, what do you think of, what do you think about before sleeping, and what are you thinking about? That's also possibly correct. We already know that the simple tense is correct because, again, I'm going to repeat because repetition is good. Simple tenses can be used both with action verbs and they can be used with states. Continuous forms can only be used with actions. So my first question is this correct or incorrect? And I'm going to quickly go back to the chat and see if anybody's answered. Go down. Hello, Mina. I do apologize, Mina. Whoops. We've got lots of chats down here. I do apologize, Mina. Hello, how are you? Long time no see. And we've got Muhitin Musulur. Hello, welcome to the class. We've got Mahmut, I think you were here before. Nusena's, hi again, Nusena, how are you? I seem to remember your name too. And then we have Abdurrahim. I do apologize for my bad Arabic. I can barely speak Turkish. Then we've got Mr. Heron or Miss Heron. Hi, how are you? Nice to have you here. And then we've got Anime sever. That's cool. I like a little bit of animation. Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my favorite. You're probably talking about Japanese cartoons and stuff. And then we have a Corvette. Ooh, a Corvette? Oh, correct. Sorry. I thought you were talking about vegetables. Or a Corvette, a type of car. And very good. It is correct. Mainly because it's an action. So what about weigh? Here, weigh we're using to discuss a state, the physical weight of something, how much something weighs. Now we know, again, the present simple is correct. It will always be correct. The past simple will always be correct with states. Future simple will always be correct with states. Simple tenses generally are always going to be correct with states. Continuous tenses, however, that's different. So what about the continuous form? The Spider-Man don't do anime. I know, Japanese animation then. Not a big fan. I don't know. Death Note? I did enjoy Death Note, that was good. What other anime have I watched? I don't really remember. I don't watch a lot of TV. Not really. Occasionally. But I think the last time I watched a cartoon was... I was 10, 9 or 10, seriously, when I watched cartoons. So the continuous form here, Naruto. I know Naruto. I haven't watched it. I've heard of it. I used to teach at a school with children. So my knowledge of anime is not, still I don't know, it's pretty much amateur, but I know a little bit more than others. The continuous form here is incorrect, of course. Because, again, we're describing a state. But when we use it to describe an action, the act of weighing something, if we imagine like a terazi, some scales in English, and we put that on there to see how much it weighs. In this meaning, it's actually an action verb. So, of course, we can say he weighs himself each morning. Present simple, we know this to be true. But we can also say he is weighing himself in the bedroom. Admire is another example as a state. I admire your courage. We can use it. In that sense, it's correct because, as I said before, and I'm going to say it again because repetition is important, it's always going to be correct because state verbs are always correct in simple tenses. Actually, if you just want to use a state, boom, işin bitti. You use a simple tense. And here the continuous form, I'm admiring your courage, is actually incorrect because here it means respect. To respect someone is actually a state. But it can also be an action, meaning to look at something with pleasure. I don't have anything I can look at with pleasure. I don't know. Got nothing. Okay, so imagine that this old book here is the Mona Lisa, as it were, and I'm sort of looking going, wow, that's a good piece of art. That's absolutely amazing. How did he do it? Fantastic. That's what I mean to look with pleasure. So maybe even a sunset, sometimes when we're on holiday or if we go to Moda Sahil, we sit down and we look at the sunset with pleasure. it brings us pleasure. Well, it brings me pleasure anyway. So we know the simple tense is going to always be correct, but what about the continuous tense? I am admiring the sunset. Is that correct? We're going to have a quick look at the chat. Thank you, Mr. Harun. I try my best. I could be better, you know. I find being a teacher, you're a lifelong student, so I'm always learning new ways or trying to learn new ways to explain things to students. This particular project I've been working on for for maybe 17 years. You know, I never used to teach like this, of course. And the continuous form here is also correct as well, because as we see up here, we're using an action. So let's do some practice, and this is where you get to participate. This is the important stuff. You answer questions here, you can get a PDF at the end of this lockdown, as it were. So let me see as many answers as you can on the thingamajig. Thank you, Miss Anime Sevesh. It's a very unusual name, that one. Thank you. Yep, very good, Miss Nursena. Okay, maybe a little bit too late. I'm 15 seconds in the future, as it were. Wait a minute. Nope, I'm 15 seconds in the past. You're 15 seconds in the future. So there's a 15-second difference between us. I may miss some of your notes. I do look at your chats afterwards as well. I love to see your participation. I love to see you joining the lessons as well. So if I don't answer your questions or your answers, or if I don't acknowledge you, please forgive me. That's not my intent. So let's go to question number 1. Well, not question number 1. Let's have a quick look at these verbs. Now, I'm not going to really help you. I'm not going to explain the different meanings of these verbs. I want to see how much you actually know. We have see, which can be a state verb and an action verb. Actually, see has a number of meanings. We have expect, can be a state verb, and it can also be an action verb. Think we've looked at, weigh we've looked at, admire we've looked at. Look we haven't looked at, but again, look can be a state or it can be an action, depending on its meaning. We have appear, which can also be a state or an action according to its meaning. We've already looked at the example to be, to show that one action is permanent and one action is more temporary. We've already looked at have, and here we have represent. Represent, I'll give you a quick clue with represent. The meaning of represent is, it's one that students don't really know. That's my notes. So if I go like this, I don't know. Oh, Ramazan, that's not good. That's not a good example. What's that? Oh, the dove. Okay, I don't know. I'm crap at drawing, actually. So, it's not a rabbit. So I'm going to put this here, actually. It's a hand, not a rabbit. Oh, I'm miswriting. So if you look at this here, we see this, I don't know if I put it here, we see this symbol here. Well, this symbol represents, I'm going to use a simple form, represents peace, as it were. So that's one way in which we can use represent. Represent we can also use to do something on behalf or to talk on behalf of someone. So I'll give you a quick clue. Lawyers. Lawyers often represent people in court cases. I'm going to have a quick sip of my coffee and we'll go to the first question. There we go. How much do you? About 60 kilos. So who's going to be brave enough? Yeah, very good, Dilan. Very, very good. Temsil etmek. Onu bir küçük not yazacağım. Hep merak ettim. Temsil etmek. Thank you very much. Temsil etmek o zaman Türkçe değil. Arapçada mı geldi yoksa Farsça? Like symbolize. Not think, no. Not think, Tuba. You need to choose the correct verb. Weigh, there we go, very good. And of course here, It's used in the simple tense because it's a state. We're discussing how much physically weighs. We can't use the how much are you weighing would not be possible. Let's go to the next one. We eat dinner at the moment, so I'll phone you back in half an hour. I want the verb. I also want the tense. Is it going to be present simple or is it going to be present continuous? Yeah, whoa. Slowly, boy. Yeah, well done. Adam, yep. Have. Dylan, I think you might have. Well, Zelda, hello. Adam, have. Lots of haves. Heron, have. Dylan, have. Everybody, have. Yeah, the correct verb is have, but what about the tense? Let's have a look at this key word here, at the moment. It gives us a big clue. Is it going to be present simple or is it going to be present continuous? Are having. Very, very good, Nursana. Thank you. That's perfect. That's exactly the right answer I want. Well, present tense deyince Adem. Go back to the beginning of the video. Present tense. What's present tense? Present simple, present continuous, present perfect simple, present perfect continuous. What do you might mean by present tense? Simple, continuous are how we talk about tenses. Present, past, future, that's not important. That just tells us when these actions happened. We can say simple tense, o biraz daha doğru. Or we could say present simple tense, which would give us the correct time frame, present, but it will also give us the correct action as well, simple. So number 3, Harry's been in his room for ages. At all his old photographs. Present tense, present simple. Kendini düzeltin. I'm sorry, Adem. I'm not as good with this technology as you and boy. I need spider hands. I need to be Spider-Man actually, to do all this. I've got this going here and this going here. I've got my telephone down here. I've got coffee going here. So I do apologize, Adam. So Harry's been in his room for ages. He's looking at his old photographs. Very good, Junaid. Welcome to the class, brother. Hope you're enjoying your time. Let's see if we can get more people. I know there's more people watching. Is looking. Thank you very Nursana. Very much. Thank you, Mr. Harun. Harun, thank you, Mr. Harun. Perfect. So let's go to the next one then. Let's see if we can be a little bit quicker on the notes. Helen, I think she's an excellent manager. So which of these verbs? Any idea? See, expect, think, weigh, admire. Very, very good. Adam. Very well done. There we go. Well, there we go. That's fantastic. Excellent. I tell you what, you're all doing very, very well. I'm very happy. Whoa, there we go. There we go. Okay, that's amazing. Excellent. It's like being in a real class. I'm so happy. So admire. So the next question, is it going to be simple or continuous? Simple or continuous? And I'm not going to wait for your answers. I'm sure you're going to answer very shortly anyway. We should use it in the simple tense because again here, admire is being used to mean respect. I really respect Helen. I think she's an excellent manager. Very, very, there we go. You're wonderful people. I love you all. Boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom. Hello, Umut. How are you? Sila. I recognize some of these names from last week as well. And there's Soydan as well. Wow, there we go. So let's go to the next one then. This time, give me the correct verb and also give me the correct tense as well. Let's do buy one, get one free. Let's put them together. So here we have Penelope Fitzgerald, blah, blah, blah, in a new production of Oliver in London's West End. Any ideas? Mr. Umut, I grew up in London, but I'm originally Irish. Well, I was actually born in London too, but to an Irish family. Southern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. That's where most of my family is from. So I associate with them a lot more than I do with the English. Not represent, no. Very close. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue here. I'll give you the correct verb, appear. But what's the tense? Is it going to be simple? Or is it going to be sort of limited by duration? Not appeared. Mr. Ardem, we're going to do present simple or present continuous. Keep it simple. No, it's actually going to be some nice tries. They're not bad, Mr. Umut. The correct answer is appearing. It's a slightly difficult one to explain if I just get my little magic board here. But if we think about plays here, Oliver is the name of a play. So we know that Penelope, she's an actress. And of course, plays in theatres, you know, the production may last for a long time, but it's sort of limited. Plays in theatres often have a limited period of time. They may run for 2 weeks, they may run for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but they are temporary by nature. So here, appear wouldn't be correct. Appearing would be the better option. Let's go to the next one. I'm quite happy for your children to come to the... I've made a mistake. I'm so bad. I've controlled everything 1,000 times too. Neyse bir tane olsun. I'm quite happy for your children to come to the party, or party, as they say in America, because I know they very well behaved. So verb and tense, please. Verb and tense. You're very welcome, Soydon. Benim işim bu. But I made a mistake here though. Terrible. I made a mistake on Friday, but we'll talk about Friday's mistake on Friday. Çok gıcık oldum kendime. Are expecting, not expecting. No. Are. I know they are very well behaved. Yeah. Here we're talking about one of those, you know, we have state verbs, but we also have these adjectives. If we have an adjective like well-behaved, interested, hot, red, green, blue, yellow, you know, choose noun forms, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, months, January, February, March, you know, and we have no other verb present. Then we're going to connect that with the auxiliary verb am, is, are, was, were, or been. So let's go to the next one. You're doing very well. Why? Neyse. If you still don't understand why are anime, I've explained, but if you still don't understand, ask again and I'll explain again. As I said, there's a 15-second difference between me and between you. So I'm not sure if you actually understand now. The snake in this picture, well, we spoke about this one. The forces of evil. The snake in this picture, blah, blah, blah, the forces of evil. Any ideas? Well, I'll give you a clue. It's from this sign here from earlier. But should we use simple present or should we use represent? Very good. It's actually we'll make a small adjustment to this because the snake in the picture, we're talking about the snake. Sorry, I'm using my fingers. Here we're talking about the snake. The snake represents. It represents the forces of evil. Very good. What about the next one then? They don't really like it here. They, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, of moving to another town. Any ideas? You've all gone quiet. They think of What verb form though? Adem says present simple. Nope, thinks the correct verb. But which verb form? Should we use present simple or present continuous? Think about that action. Is it a long action? Is it a process like this? Or does it mean to agree or to have an opinion of? Well, unfortunately, here we are thinking of a process. It's where, I think this is a good idea. I think I should go to somewhere else. I've had enough of Kadıköy. I've had enough of Istanbul. Where could I possibly move? Could I go to Bodrum? Could I go to Antalya? Maybe I could go to another country. That process of planning where you're thinking in your head, where you can see stuff happening before you, that's the process of thinking. And here we can use it in the continuous form. Now, they think of moving to another town every time they move. If we use this in the simple, it just basically means that this is true all the time. But here we know from the context that we're looking for a temporary, a more restricted idea. And with continuous tenses, duration, it's always limited. It's always going to be temporary. We have some good examples that we'll look at later. So what about now? Let's have a quick look. Thinking very good Umut, 100%, very good anime, continuous. Well, I give you a clue. This is the verb we need, I think. But are we going to use present continuous or are we going to use present simple? Which one? Simple or continuous? Do you see? There we go. Do you see that man over there? And of course we're using it as a simple form because here see is the physical ability to see someone else. Of course, see has different meanings. We'll look at one of those very shortly. Do you see? Very good Umut. Harun, I think you're a little bit back in time. Do you see? Very good, Tuba. Well done. Tuba Salam. Your name rings a bell too, actually. Were you here last Wednesday or last Friday? I do recognize the name. So let's have another look at another one. I'm going to give you the verb first so we can save some time and go into some other practice. The verb is look. So the question this time is simple or continuous? I thought so. Was that yes Wednesday or yes Friday, Tuba? Is looking, Umut. There we go. And Harun, very good, excellent. The answer is looks. Look here means to appear, to seem to be. The hotel looks lovely in the photographs. If we have the photographs and we look at the adjective lovely, the adverb lovely, it's not actually an action. The photograph isn't doing anything. Photographs are static. They're stative. So it appears lovely. It looks lovely. Look as a dynamic verb, as an action verb, means to look at someone, to look around maybe. I can't come out with you tonight because I've already given you the answer C, but did I give you the correct verb form? Or was that my mistake? Are we going to use see here in the simple form because I see Paul, or are we going to use it in the continuous form because I'm seeing Paul? I'm going to have some more coffee. I'm seeing. Who said that? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Junaid, hello Junaid, Anime, Umut, there we go. I am seeing Paul. And here it's important to note that see here, meaning like a rendezvous, to meet someone at a specific time or place. Here, see, when we use it with the present continuous, it often also almost always has a future meaning. I'm seeing someone tonight. I'm seeing my family at the weekend. I'm seeing my friends after class. See has one other meaning, which can also be an action verb. Are you seeing anyone? I'll put it down. No, I won't. You just have to listen. So if someone says, are you seeing anybody at the moment? Now, we know this has a different meaning to this example here, because we're saying at the moment. It has a true present meaning. Here on the screen, am seeing has a future meaning. So if someone says, are you seeing anybody? They're basically asking you, do you have a boyfriend or do you have a girlfriend? Are you in a romantic relationship with anybody? That's slightly different. I'm going to give you a clue. The verb we're looking for here is have. We'll be looking at the pronunciation of V later, maybe next week. So have. I will do it if I can, but I do not have much time. Or I'll do it if I can, but I am not having much time. Should be an easy one. Oops, I think I'm hungry. I don't have much time. Very good, Soydan. Excellent. Love your contribution. Love everybody's contribution. Ooh, Nursena, you're using numbers. That's good. That makes sense. That makes it easier for me. We'll go to the next one. And we're going to be using the verb think here, I believe. So what do you think of the manager's new proposals? Or what are you thinking of the manager's new proposals? Is continuous possible, or is here think a state? Very good, Umut. Very good. Unfortunately, no, Sila. Here we're looking at the state form. Of course, after this lesson, if you need to go back to the beginning of it, look at it again. Just because you've watched it one time doesn't mean you have understood all of the concepts. The next one. Has Judy told you she's twins? I'm going to give you the verb here. The verb is expect. It'd be nice to know what your name is. But if we use the verb am is are, and we have that verb like see, if it's going to be continuous, that ing is necessary. Are you see? Öyle bir kalıp yok bizde. Are you seeing? She's expecting twins. Well done, Dilan, Selda, and Harun. Fantastic. And Nursena, and Tuba, and Anime, and Junaid, and Soydan, and Umut. Well done. What about the next one then? Let me have a quick look. What are you doing here? I'm not going to help you with the verb here. You should know the answer. I'm going to get comfortable again. Oh, the pins and needles. What do you think here? Which verb? Well, look at, I am just looking. This painting, we need that preposition. I'm just looking at this painting. We don't have that preposition, so look is not possible. Think about sunsets. Think about the Mona Lisa. What did we use with her? I have just looking. I have just looking. Well, we're doing present simple and present continuous, tuba. Again, you see that ing, have just looking. If we have an ing, we need to have a form of be. So that would be, I have just been looking. But just can be used in a number of tenses, not just perfect tenses. Well, I give you a clue. It's actually this one here, admire. Very good, Nursena. Boom! Well done. Excellent. I am admiring. There you go. Well, yes, Hussein, that's the correct verb. I am just admiring this painting. Very, very good, Nursena. Excellent. Of course, look, one more time, I'm going to repeat myself. Look at this painting. But we don't have that preposition. Admire doesn't require a preposition at all. So, what about this one? Where's the baby? At the moment, look, there she is on the scales. And we know what this word means. We discussed it earlier. Terazi düşün. You know, they're scales. So I think we know the verb, weigh, don't we? We know the verb is weigh, but are we going to use simple? Oh, my stomach. I hope you can't hear my stomach. I'm really, really hungry at the moment. Let's have a quick look. No answers? Come on. They are weighing. Very good. Thank you, Nursena. Adem, where have you gone? You've disappeared, brother. There we go. Very good, Enes. Excellent. Are weighing. And the reason is because this is continuous, and of course, we're using it to show the action of the verb and not the state of the verb. I haven't spoken to him much, but to be a very nice man. And I'm going to give you a clue. It's appear. My question is this going to be a state verb or is this going to be an action verb? Ooh. Almost Enes, almost anime. He appears. Who said that? Let's have a quick look. There you go, Umut. You're on fire. Very good, Nursena. There we go, Tuba and Sila. Whoop. Now, Sila, we can use the verb appear, or we can use the verb is appearing. We can't have is without ing. There we go, is appearing. The actual correct answer is appears. Simitje, is that Simitje? Very loud. So look at Nick out in the garden. I'm going to give you a clue. Our verb is be here. So he is really nice with the children, or he is being very nice with the younger children. Which one? I'll give you a couple of seconds whilst I have more coffee. Very good. Benim kafam karıştı. Very, very good, Nursena. Selda, Tuba. Soydan is being, well, as we discussed earlier, you know, when we use the verb to be to describe states, we're saying that it's generally true. If we change this sentence, if we said that Nick generally doesn't like children, but today he is being really nice with the children, then that sentence would make sense, because we're comparing it with his general behavior. He doesn't like, or he isn't good, or he isn't lovely towards children. And then we're going to say, but today he is being really nice. What's wrong? Generally, he hates them. You're doing all very, very well. So what about 19? We've just got this one and we've got one more after this. I'm not going to help you. Let me see what you've got. So Peter's still not here. He's forgotten about the meeting. We should start without him. I'm looking. Think. I think he's forgotten the... Well, think does actually work. Think does work. But here, we're not going to use think. I think he's forgotten. We're going to use another word. We're going to use another word that has the same meaning as think. Which other word here has the same meaning? The answer is expect. It's a little bit closer to maybe guess, sanmak gibi. So Peter's still not here. I guess he's forgotten about the meeting. We could say, I think he's forgotten about the meeting, but here I've used expect. I'll correct that for next time, actually. Who said that, actually? Who was that? Whoops, someone up there. Umutoan. Interesting. I'll come back to that later. And finally, we have this one here. I hope you've got a good lawyer, but lawyer, I gave you a clue earlier. If anyone gets this wrong, seriously, I'm going to come to your houses. Lawyer. Which one of these? To talk on behalf of someone else. What do lawyers do? Represents. Very good, Soedan. Very good, Umut. But what tense? Simple or continuous? Again, is represents, represent is a verb. Mr. Enes, it's already a verb, so we don't need to use that auxiliary verb, am, is, are. The only time we use auxiliary verbs with verbs like this is when we're using them for a structure, such as past continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous, present continuous, and present perfect continuous. So we have I am working. We can't say I am work. If we mean work here as a simple action, we say I work. Zaten kendisi fiil, değil mi? It's already a verb. So if we use the is here, then we're going to need an ing. I was working, I am working, I will be working, I have been working, I had been working. We got that ing there. The only other time we use the verb am, is, are, was, were with another verb would be your past participle. In Turkish, you like to call them üçüncü fiil. I hate that word, but that past participle, I have been. We would use that past participle in maybe passive structures. So here is representing. We have a limited period of time at the trial. If we said present simple, then we can imagine that this trial nedir? Dava gibi bir şeydi, doğru hatırlasam. It would go on forever, 20 years ago now and 20 years in the future. But we can assume that trials, they occupy a very short period of time, that they're temporary. And actually, if we go back to our comparisons, how we started earlier, we saw that simple tenses are used to talk about action verbs and state verbs. And we saw that continuous tenses are used to talk primarily about action verbs. However, as we've just discussed, some state verbs can also be action verbs, but with a different meaning. So what other similarities do we have? Well, simple tenses are considered to be permanent. Permanent, kalıcı. They last for long periods of time. I am a teacher. I was a teacher 20 years ago. I will be a teacher in 20 years' time. For me, this is a permanent state. Continuous tenses are considered to be temporary. As I said before, duration, süreç. Bir yere kadar sadece. It goes so far. If we look at the Turkish, okula gidiyorum. O gitmek. Nereye kadar gidiyor? It's a limited time. If we have a look at these examples here, I live in Istanbul. I'm living in Istanbul. Now, in terms of meaning, they both have the same, they mean the same. There's no correct or incorrect tense here. The verb live can be used in a simple tense or it could be used in a continuous tense, but our idea is important. When we say I live in Istanbul, we could say I'm happy here. I plan to live here for a long time to come, and I have lived here for a period of time before. When we say, I'm living in Istanbul, because this is present continuous, I forgot to highlight the M. This is important. Am is our verb ing. We need all of those parts, as I stated before. Here, we think it's more of a temporary position. Maybe I'm not happy here. Maybe I'm thinking of going to another country or leaving Istanbul. Here, for me, it's temporary. Here, I live in Istanbul. Well, I've lived here for I've lived here for 18 years. Almost 19 years. I'm probably going to be living here for another 20, or at least until I'm dead. If I was a tourist and I came here for a short period of time, like 6 months, then I would say I'm living in Istanbul now, and in 4 months' time, I'm moving to a different country. If we look at it with the verbs work, we can say I work at Justenglish, and we can also say I'm working at Justenglish. Here, both sentences are correct. We can use the simple tense or we can use the continuous tense. But again, with maybe trip, continuous living meaning, maybe trip, permanent, kalıcı. Yes, very good. I hope I was not late. Hello, Ailem. You're very, very late. But the good thing is, Justenglish, unfortunately for me, but fortunate for you, they put this stuff on YouTube for everybody to watch. You know, I hate people watching me. It's horrible. So after this lesson, continue with the other lessons that Justenglish have provided today, and later tonight, or almost certainly before next week's lesson, watch this video again. Because next week we won't be repeating half of this information. We still have a lot of practice to do with present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, future simple, and future continuous. Lots and lots of practice next week. So again here, I work at Justenglish. Boom. I see this as a permanent job. I'm happy, really, seriously. I'm happy at Justenglish. It's a wonderful school. I've worked at Justenglish pretty much since I've been in Istanbul. As long as Justenglish has been alive, I've been with her. For me, this is a permanent job. I was working here last year, I'm working here now, and I will probably be working at Justenglish in a year. However, if I contrast that with I'm working at Justenglish, because it's a continuous tense, because it's temporary, we're now restricting its time. And we could maybe say, I'm not happy working at Justenglish. It's not true, but just for example, I'm not happy working at Justenglish. I'm just doing this at the moment. Maybe next week I'll be doing something else. Next week I'll be working somewhere else. Next week maybe I'll even leave Justenglish. And then we have this idea of completeness. Completeness. Simple tenses are often considered to be complete tenses. Continuous tenses are incomplete tenses. So we have, for example, I read a book yesterday and I was reading a book yesterday. Very, very similar. Very similar. Actually, in spoken English, really depending on the rest of the information, you could quite easily go for either of these. But read, for me, gives an idea of completion. It's finished. So I finished reading the book. I had the book. I started the action after a couple of hours. I finished the action and I finished the book. Whoops, wait a minute. Okay. I'll just get rid of my head off so you can see that. You'll be able to see that very shortly. So here, for me, the action of the book is finished. The book is complete. Whereas if we look at continuous tenses, I was reading a book. This tells me that the action was incomplete. I was reading a book at 3 o'clock yesterday. At 3 o'clock, the action started before. My head is 3 o'clock. The action started before, and it continued after that point in time. But I could also maybe understand that the book is not finished either. Maybe I am still continuing to read that book. So let's do some more practice. Before we do, though, I need to have a look at the time. Unfortunately, that's our time done for today. It's been wonderful, really, really wonderful. I can't begin to tell you how much I enjoy our lessons together, and I enjoy to your novel. I'll come back to your chats very shortly. Just let me talk about how emotions and stuff. I really do enjoy our lessons, and I really do love your participation. As I said, it's not a lesson if you don't participate. I'll come back to your comments very shortly. Today, the lesson is finished. Next week, in the first half of the lesson, we're going to continue. I'm going to give you homework now. YouTube homework. Maybe this is a first. I don't know. But I'm going to give you some homework for next week. Before we do next week's lesson, which is next Wednesday, 2 o'clock, I have another lesson on Friday at 2 o'clock. But I'm more interested in the grammar lesson on Wednesday. It's not just for intermediate students, it's for upper intermediate students as well. Even for advanced students, these are the basics of language. We'll be doing some practice contrasting present simple and present continuous. We'll have some more practice with that. We'll also be comparing past simple and past continuous, and we'll be looking at some of the variations, some of the differences between those two. And then we'll be looking at slightly more, not difficult, because it's the same. Simple, simple, simple. Continuous, continuous, continuous. We'll be looking at future simple and future continuous, and maybe some of the differences between there. I'm going to quickly look at your chat to round the day off. Novels are fantastic. You're going, don't go anywhere. I need to get rid of this. Technological problems again, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. And okay, so we'll slowly stop asking questions. Hold up a minute. The same between all forms of tens. We love to watch you. Thank you, Miss Tuba Selam. I love looking at my computer for 2 hours and talking to myself almost. But your contribution makes it a lot more easier. Hi, Alem. Again, hopefully 2 o'clock it starts next week. And then we have Vikash. Hi, Mr. Vikash. A little bit late to the party, as it were. Next week at 2 o'clock, we'll be continuing this lesson. Watch this lesson again before you come next week. Things are going to get a little bit complicated. There are same situations, same between all of them and other tenses. Is that true? Pelin, yes, to answer your question. You know, all simple tenses and all continuous tenses have the same differences. We have two actions, simple and continuous. That's it. So if we use present simple for states, in the past, we're going to use past simple. If we cannot use state verbs with continuous tenses, then we can't use state verbs with continuous tenses in the past. And it's the same for the future as well. So we have past continuous, present continuous, future continuous, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. All of the continuous forms, we cannot use state verbs. They are the same. All continuous forms talk about duration. We'll come back to perfect tenses next week. Perfect has a very special meaning, and we'll be looking at that meaning next week. But as I said, you don't even need to use perfect tenses. Not really. There are ways we can avoid them. The two most important ones are present perfect and present perfect continuous. Bitte. You know, past perfect simple, past perfect continuous, future perfect simple, future perfect continuous. Don't even waste your time. All of that time you want to use studying those would be better improving your use of simple and continuous tenses. I hope that's answered your question. Teacher Sunday, upper intermediate. No, Pelin, Wednesday. Next Wednesday, upper intermediate, intermediate. We'll be continuing this too. Do you advise a novel? Yes, Mr. or Miss Soydan. I'm not really sure if that's a masculine or feminine name. Yes, reading novels are important. However, you know, when you buy a book, make sure that you understand 80%, maybe 90%. Do not buy a book that you don't understand 80% or 90% off because you'll get bored. Generally, when students buy books, they buy books which are far more difficult than they are for their level. We need to read, to enjoy, and expose ourselves to that language. It's all about exposure. It's about practice. So even a very basic book, I've got Cinali books. Occasionally, I still take out my Cinali books and read them. My Turkish is a little bit better, but still, it's good practice. You're very welcome, Dilan. TYSM teacher. Got no idea what that means. Thank you, teacher. Have a wonderful day. Love you all. And I'll see you next week. I have to find out how to turn this off now. Okay, so you can all go. I'm still here. Have a nice day. Go and have a break. We've got the other one starting soon. Good luck. And to end or start intro and control. Kapatmak için. I've got no idea. Hold up a minute. We're going to just do this. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.